Mindustry. I'm Larfeticus. I'm doing another campaign map today with my heavily PvP influenced brain. This is Ravine, which I have to bounce to Atlas to actually get the launch to work right, because the default one wouldn't have the resources to do it. Whatever. This map is a survival map. I'm going to do it with turrets. I'm not doing it with units. Although it is very difficult to remember such ancient history, Mindustry used to be a turret defense game, a tower defense, whatever. Not anymore, but it used to, and it didn't stop it from putting a bunch of energy into turrets that are generally not useful. But Ravine introduces the Afflict, which is a useful turret, and there's only one core. Unit cap is 15, so that sort of prevents the usefulness of doing everything with units. So instead, we're gonna rush through the tech tree to get Surge, and we're gonna build 4 Afflicts, and then we're just gonna click the arrow on all the waves and finish it up as fast as possible. Alright, let's see. I will build a few units because I need scouts to push back Fog of War, and I guess it's like an emergency kind of thing, but they're generally not going to be what I'm using to actually finish the map. That first oxide and hydrogening the bores is pretty important. There is 2 tungsten patches around. Tungsten is going to be sort of an early limiting factor, and once we get enough tungsten and we get the power up, then we'll make more oxide, and that'll pay for all the heat and slag stuff to make the Surge. Then we'll put down the Afflicts. In this direction there is wet green, so I'm gonna need to pump that out to make the good power plants, as there's not really enough vents on the map to get just regular vent power and do all the things I want, because the electric heaters in the Afflicts are power expensive. So we're waiting for the first elude, and that's gonna go scat out where the power plants are gonna need to be. And in the meantime, there's some extra beryllium to get. Beryllium is kind of a bottleneck too. But those extra beryllium pieces in the northeast, that's gonna go into a larger oxide factory that's gonna be the heat source for the Surge factory. And I've got enough oxide and tungsten saved up to make the first real power plant. Yeah, and that's a PvP scam right there, and it works fine here. You know, you're trying to minimize the amount of wiring that you have to do to get something that works. So you build in the electrolyzer. An electrolyzer in that manner supports ozone for 2 power plants. And so all you need to do is put the pump so it covers some wet green and pipe in water, and then it works. It's a lot faster than sort of an alternative approach to schematics like that, where you have an output for hydrogen and an input for the wet green, and you have to do 2 sets of pipes to go off to pumps. Pumps are really obnoxious to wire. The actual coverage for the wet green isn't going to be optimal. You know, I'm not going to get the full surface area of pumps going there, but I think I only end up with like 8 combustion generators by the time I'm done with this. You know, once the 4 Afflict turrets are set up, there's not anything left to do but press the forward arrow and wait for ships to get where they're going. Alright, that little bit there is maxed out. It is not quite the right amount of water. Those 3 impacts want 36 water, and what I'm putting into it is 35. They can get over it, whatever. Be a little thirsty. Alright. Yeah, this is another PvP schematic here. Turn 1 vent into easy ozone and hydrogen outputs for wherever you want to send those things. In this case, I want it for wet red pumps. Hot red pumps, whatever, something like that. Arcosite would be the name of a solid mineral, not a liquid. By the end of this, I convert almost all the pumps into water sources instead. So this, I'm actually overbuilding the oxide over here. I'm not using the heat, which is a waste. And I'm gonna end up with a surplus for the second oxide factory that I put on the other side. Derp, derp, okay. I don't know why did I do that? Yeah, whatever. So 1 water source only building will run 6 of these. Well, 3 of these schematics, 6 combustion generators total. So I'll have to keep bringing in more water from other places. These guys need to go find the choke point. So there is a very, very, very long walking path here that leads all the way to a spawn point where in 4 minutes stuff is going to start spawning. I guess the waves. Waves are a thing. Remember waves? Well, they're back now for this one map. There's the spawn point, and there's the choke point I'm going to use. I'm putting it all the way over there to save time when I'm spamming the wave fast forward. Because if I put the turrets by my base, I'm gonna have to wait for like slow tanks and crabs to walk all the way from up here all the way down to where my base is and lose, a minute on every wave out of 24 of them, or 24. I can see numbers and read numbers. It's 24 waves. And in addition to that, there's going to be air units coming. The air units are predictable. I'm not sure exact. They might be going straight for the core, or they might be targeting the surge crucible. But either way, they're controllable enough. Research. Yeah. So I got some missing research still. Whatever. We'll do that. My initial plan, if I had the research, was to do slag heaters over here and power it that way. That's why I built the extra oxide at first. But without the slag heaters, I gotta get different heat. So I'll use the oxide factory for that. Another PvP schematic. Put in ozone, put in beryllium, get oxide and heat output for whatever you want. It would be overkill for nitro, but it's good for putting a crucible on or a surge thing. It doesn't get it up to maximum. Like this will put it up to 400%. You could put a couple extra whatever else on it if you want, but 300% is fine for the purposes here. Tungsten, that'll be what runs out. I don't know if I end up building more of those. I'm gonna need to splice off some graphite and make a silicon to send into the Surge Crucible, and then it's done. Yeah, setting up the silicon doesn't take any tungsten. That's a good thing to work on in the meantime. Probably should put it up on like an overflow and then divert it into the core, but I think I neglect to bother doing that in this particular case, and it's not going to make much difference. I'm not going to be running out of construction silicon for the rest of the game. Oh, I guess I did do it. Okay, cool. All right. Surge. Good stuff for another power plant. Sure. Need to pull more water in this direction. All right, and sending the infrastructure all the way up there in preparation for building the actual afflicts. No, a wave already happened. Well, that was some utility for having the elude sitting up there already. The walkers could get by that. Gimme, come. Finishing already, jeez. All right, scout out some vents. I want to put a mend projector, a mend tower, whatever they call the blue hydrogen one. It's not green. It doesn't take phase. That's a different place. I'm gonna be little tanks. Can't take it. Why even bother sending them? There. Finally. I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna need the electric heater. Luckily, that doesn't require any surge to research. We can start building this thing. So the heat input on this goes up to 200%. So you can get that with 7 electric heaters and no other infrastructure. Nice and simple. I do have a nice big pile of oxide saved up, so these are going to be easy to put down. Although they never fit power connections well. There's never like gaps in between them that make things look good. Instead, it's always this sort of sticking out the side kind of array. So, first afflict up. That'll already stop pretty much everything that's going to come towards this point. Get started on the second one. And 2 of these absolutely will stop everything that approaches this point. And then we're done with the survival over here. It just gets so many hits, even on single units, because the bullets that fracture off turn back around and hit things again anyway. It's great for crowd control. It's great for shooting down homing missiles. It's great. You don't have to send in ammo to it. You just put power in it. You're going to have power anyway. All right. More wet green power. Do it. All right. That is the last power plant. I can hang off that water vent. And with the afflicts in place, I can bring back the eludes over here in case, some attacking air units decide to do something unexpected, which they won't, but just in case. They probably are going straight for the core. It's not like they go after power plants like they used to. Could have gone a little bit faster by popping some electric heaters on that surge crucible a little sooner. I'm sure there's some other things that could have gone a little faster. We're still going to be stuck waiting, even when we're hurrying up the waves, because it still takes... Waves with air units still need a minute to fly from their spawn, which is way, way, way up in the north of this map, and cross a bunch of black space. Yeah, a little bit of protection wall. There will be some obviates eventually. And those have more range and some splash damage. You'd rather the splash damage center trigger further away from the important stuff. You don't need to do full wall here at all. Just enough to get the shots to explode and buy time for the things themselves to die. Yeah, we could start hurrying up, sure. Probably could have started sooner. Just the one afflict would be fine against the, 2 or 3 or 4 verts that come on the first waves that have air. Another thing I could have done a little faster. Dead locust, hit the arrow. Shred those things, hit the arrow. It is quite possible to do this same thing with units. It probably ends up being less efficient. You need more time with, the factories churning out units. You're a little bit more, like, your power density of things isn't as good. The amount of defense that comes out of one afflict is worth quite a few locuses or whatever else you might have. And the unit cap hurts a lot. Like, you might be able to put 7 or 8 locuses on each of those attack points. Well, defense points. You'd have to resort to Claroy also to get some more firepower in there. No, you wouldn't have to. Tanks and locusts behind walls and with the unit repairing thing will tank stuff just fine. Another power plant. Is that up to 10 combustion? Sure. The air units came. There's more air units on the way. Goodbye air units. Click the arrow. 4 enemies, probably locusts over on the other side. They won't last long. And they're gone. Click the arrow. Crowd control. Click the arrow. Oh, no, there's air. Some of them still get an approach, but they're not even going to do crash damage enough to dent any of this stuff, especially with the Mender there. We are autopiloting all the way towards the rest of the map. Oh, Ludes thought they might sneak by. They cannot. Nine averts. Hurry up. And gone. The arrow. That's done. Slowed hit the arrow. Well, there might be a number of Claroy that exists where the point defense actually pushes back against the afflict bullets at some amount. It's not going to send them in any of the waves in this map, but that number may exist. It may be hundreds, but they're really handicapped in that the range of the Claroy point defense is so short that for most of the stuff you want it to shoot down, it's stuff with a area of effect explosion, and it can't shoot it down before the area of effect is damaging the Claroy that's trying to defend itself. So even though those point defense shots land, it still gets worn down eventually by, Anthicus or Quell bombs or whatever. 10 air units. Come on, come into the meat grinder. Let's go. Cook them up. Hurry up. There they are. And they're gone. 22. All locusts? No. Half locusts. Half quabs. Dead. Obvious? Some kind of error is going to come over here. Something big and new. Something I can't build yet. It's not going to make a strong impression. Am I eager to get new technologies? No, I am not. No, I am eager to have those technologies. Those will be very useful. I will fly them correctly, unlike the AI control that is launching these suicide attacks. The game probably could benefit from a hard mode. Last wave. All this stuff over here. Dead. 5 obviates? Is it really that many? Well, they're gonna get hung up shooting at the walls anyway. Shoot the walls. They fail, we're done. And that's it. So much for surviving survival maps. Next up will be Caldera.